One day we'll count to three and then only do three because it's Trigun and there's only one gun still. I don't get it. Anyway, no, there's more than one gun. Hello, welcome to the Nen Show Podcast. This is your host, Craftsdwarf, here with my co-host, Mathwiz. Say hello, Mathwiz.
Vash, the Stampede, more like... I can't think of a good alternative that's like the opposite of a stampede. A casual stroll? I don't know.
I mean, the one thing I thought of as you were thinking of is like trash, but it's like, no, Trigun and Vash are not trash, so it's like that doesn't fit. Because that's like the dig you would do on it if you didn't
Vash,
like Trigun.
the trash.
Trash the Stampede or something. I don't know. But trash is casual stroll? I don't know. All right, that's enough of that. We started Trigun Maximum. We read the first half, so we're almost done. I am gonna say so. With this, okay, because so I was gonna do it next episode, but then we might not read Dragon Ball Super, so I will say with this episode, go check out Patreon because there should be a poll up. I'm gonna start the poll for the. I haven't done it yet because I only just thought about it, unfortunately. So yeah, go ahead and vote on the next patron pick. Hopefully, it's calm and civil. Last time it was just wild. I'll just say, bribes and fucking.
It was the real Wild West of I don't know, something about Trigun. I know it was Hitman Reborn, but I don't know what I'm trying to do here.
I forget. So because I've already had a couple of people update their picks, so if you it's time. It's time. Go vote, and if you're a patron, and yeah, that'll be so because next time we're gonna finish Trigun Maximum, then we're gonna read Boruto. Maybe Dragon Ball Super, probably not because I don't know how many more chapters it's going to be until we get more stuff that isn't related to the superhero stuff. But we'll see. I was waiting to see, but there hasn't been a new chapter yet since 101 that I know of. So yeah. All right, that's it. On to. Thankfully, I forget because sometimes I forget, and then it's at the end of the episode where I'm like, oh fuck, the patron poll. But yeah, so next time we'll do Trigun Maximum, and then we'll know what we're reading after Boruto. So yeah. All right, back into Trigun. What did you think about the reading overall? Now they're getting into like notable more content than you had from the anime, I guess.
The start of the reading I think wasn't really. It definitely took a bit for me to kind of, I guess, click with the direction the manga's going in. Because it's like, there's definitely some overlapping themes and ideas between the two, but obviously the manga has just more material and expands on different things and has a bit of a different, spin on it. So, I didn't think the initial start of it was the strongest, but maybe like going back and discussing it after getting to the spot we ended on, it might click with me a bit more.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, because I'm feeling about the same. I think it's kind of neat. I kind of expect that talking about it will make me like it more, but not yet on the train with Trigun. But it is what it is. So yeah, getting right back into it. People are angry about Vash again because he's a menace, and then they do kind of a imposter thing where I do like the reveal when the bartender or inn owner, I forget who, he takes off his coat and it's like, oh fuck, it's Vash.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's because it definitely feels like it's obviously they moved magazines, so it's like being accessible to someone who has not read the original, basically. So which is kind of neat with this sort of soft reboot, sort of explaining, not really reboot, but just re-explaining and re-establishing everything.
Yeah, this chapter definitely, because this would have also been in the anime, so I like vaguely remembered some of these details, but I feel like it's definitely, because that's just kind of like a midpoint in the anime, or maybe a little in the back half.
Mhm.
But like, I like the metatextual kind of aspect of it, where reintroducing the characters, and it's like it's Vash, but it's like he's in disguise, and I just thought that was interesting from like a structural level.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm a One Piece guy, so it's hard for me to avoid thinking about One Piece. But like, I did think it because one, I just noticed Nicholas D. Wolfwood, and it's like the legendary Will of D. And the other is just it's structured and handled very differently. But after the time skip in a 2-year time skip in One Piece, there's also a fake group of Straw Hats running around. And Luffy's like first meets them in disguise and they don't recognize them, so just like I don't know, just similar tropes. I didn't think about that while reading it, but I did think about it now. Just little things I noticed. But yeah, definitely honestly it's kind of interesting thinking about this manga and its messaging in comparison to like say Naruto, where because I feel like they both talk about like these sort of like never-ending conflicts, but the difference is that obviously Trigun is about like, well, conflict will totally end the or killing will totally end the conflict, right? Because by keeping these people alive. Wolfwood blames Vash, excuse me. Where obviously in Naruto the cycle of hatred happens because of death and murder. So it's basically like if you look at them together, it's more like conflict just never ends with humanity in general. But that's very much like, I don't know, because like Vash is just his determination and his will to just never give up on his ideals, no matter what, is pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know what kind of broad point I was making there. It was just something I was thinking about during the reading, just because like there's a lot of testing Vash and challenging him. So yeah, and we do find out later that like Wolfwood he's still working with knives in the sense that he's like, I don't know, he's kind of like on both sides in a sense, where it's like he's traveling with Vash, and like there's a level at which I think he's thinking of him, and he's also challenging him and bringing him to knives. So yeah. And God, when he gets the haircut after the first couple in the second chapter, and he's got all the black on his hair, and I was like, oh, design change. And then later it's like, oh wait, no, that's meaningful. Fuck, because he's losing his power as a plant. So yep. Then we get reintroduced to Meryl and Millie, dealing with an insurance agent who's corrupt as shit. I love the spread where Millie comes in with her giant gun. She has the best faces. She's just so happy.
I feel like the whole thing with like Vash kind of being found by this other character and like kind of brought back to
oh yeah
like
it's kind of gloss over that,
like brought back to health by this other person, and then like we kind of just move on from that character pretty quickly. That I don't know, I feel like that could have resonated with me more, and I don't remember how the anime does it, if it gives it any more time. I doubt it does, but
no, I get what you
like, I do think it's interesting, I guess, in the sense that like Vash the like, oh, like you said that I saved you, but you were the one who saved me kind of deal. I guess it kind of ties in with Vash's whole like every person can like have like a meaningful impact. I don't know, but it just feels like it kind of glosses by pretty quick.
Yeah, and there's definitely some stuff I like later. Like, it's actually funny they mentioned that, oh yeah, this small minor character from early on doesn't leave much of an impact. But like in a weird, it just, speaking on just an emotional level, I think like during the fight with the puppet guy, like there's a level at which like these characters, like I don't know, so the fact that these characters are already dead and they're still haunting Vash sort of affected me more, if that makes sense. But that's a little later on. So
oh yeah, and when I saw like the redesign for some of the characters, like, it is interesting that like obviously with Vash it kind of serves a different purpose as well, but like Meryl coming back with like longer hair, Just really selling the time skip and like,
Mm-hmm.
but like once she gets back into the thick of things, she, cuts her hair again and is back. I just remember seeing the redesign and I'm like, no, I liked the old design.
Take it back. No, that reminds me. I think I've said this before, but in one of the episodes of Naoki Urasawa's Mon Ben, he like changed the design of one of his characters a little bit, and he got a letter that was like, "How dare you do that?" And he's like, "It's my character, though."
Yeah.
So, it's just thought it was funny. But then we get the one with the two feuding families, where I don't know, the way that they like really push Vash's ideals, because you have the father who's literally just like, he's going to kill the person who killed his daughter and fucking violated her, and a bunch of all that. But then like, I don't know, I like the way, because like what ends up happening a lot of the time is that like Vash still wants to stop, but like he does reach out his hand, he tries to stop the murder, but ultimately he's not able to pull the trigger because the person is calling for his father, and so I don't know. Did you have any thoughts or feelings on that, or on the conflict in general, rather?
Wait, which part of the conflict?
This is the feud with the two, because there was the dad killing the guy who killed his daughter, or wanting to shoot him, rather. Sorry.
I feel like I don't have much more to say other than like it's interesting, like just seeing Vash. Like I feel like in this reading in particular, he's put in a lot of positions where I think there's even like an interaction with Wolfwood at one point where he's like thank you for like putting up with my selfishness or something to that effect, of just like Vash getting by on someone else like doing the killing for him, kind of, even if it's like not his ideal outcome. He's still like I don't know, that's kind of here too. I feel like I don't have much more to say on it than it's interesting at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
I guess just seeing like a different angle on it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, then we get back to the gung-ho guns, words. They do be killing. Like I just slipped through the scene where Mid-Valley and Gauntlet kill just some guys in the desert, and we get Legato, who I don't remember how it happened. I just remember Knives pushing him out of the way. I don't remember that doing something that would like cripple him, basically, to the point that he can't move, basically. Though I do like it's I don't think it's definitely not supposed to be funny. But like the way he's still eating after like he's just like pushed himself out of his like coffin to eat food with only his mouth is very like, I don't know, striking, I guess.
I feel like I might be behind you. What chapter are you on right now?
I'm on chapter volume 2, chapter 2. Sorry, you catch up and see if you have anything to say. I've just been kind of trudging along. Sorry, I do that.
Okay, yeah, I was a few chapters behind.
No, I was going ahead pretty quick. All good. You all caught up then?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, Knives proclaims his motive is to not to destroy Vash, but to make him suffer, basically, just to continue to challenge him and his idealism, and hope for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get the first samurai. I don't remember if I had that much to say about this fight.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's some sort of significance to like the gun versus the sword kind of conflict.
Well, it is very I don't know, because I think Yojinbo, the Akira Kurosawa film, kind of had it from where the main character is a samurai, and his antagonist in the movie is a guy who uses a pistol. So it's definitely like and that movie was even remade into a Western film. What was it called? Bruce Willis, Fistful of Dollars, I think. Where it's basically the same premise, but I think I hope I'm not mixing things up, but I think they even credit Yojinbo and the screenplay at the start of the movie. So it's just kind of funny.
That just kind of
or
made
it's- or
me
not
think.
it's more just Western, connecting the samurai to the Western in a sense. What were you gonna say?
Well, I just kind of was reminded of. I'm pretty sure in Cowboy Bebop, Vicious, I think, also has a sword and Spike. The Spike of a gun. It's been a bit since I've watched Bebop.
Another. No, I think you're correct. No, because especially like there's the fucking iconic part in their final fight where they end up with each other's weapon, and then they just return it so they can continue the fight, even though like in theory it would be smarter to just like disarm their opponent, but they're like, no, we're fighting, we're gonna keep going. So, yeah, it's and it's also a space western kind of or sci-fi western kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
So, just I don't know the exact timeline, but you know, it's certainly just that observation and connecting to other things. But I guess like the samurai's unable to, or he just never gives up on his bloodlust, so Wolfwood kills him. I do have a thought on their like that sort of dynamic with Wolfwood and Vash, but I'll bring it up later when we get to that point. But because Vash, or Wolfwood calls him a hypocrite, but there's also the way that like Vash says that Wolfwood gives up easily, and he sort of flips Wolfwood's words back on him, which I like, where because obviously Wolfwood says like, oh, you're not really smiling, but Vash it says like, well, you're the one forcing yourself to be a devil, which obviously he's Chapel, he's meant I guess meant to make us think of like Christianity, but he's doing evil, bad things for the sake of Vash in a sense. Because he would suffer less if he didn't put all of this like self-imposed, his ideals of not killing people on him. But he's still, words are hard. Anything else to say before we get back to
Well, I guess the stuff with Wolfwood also, there was a line in like the 4th chapter of Maximum where, Wolfwood calling out Vash, like, you can't not make a choice. Like, we're different from God. And like, we're not omnipotent. Our only alternative is to become demons. So like, I feel like, that was just another thing that, with Wolfwood that I thought was interesting. 'Cause he's definitely like, he's going in a different direction than what the anime does, for sure. And not that I remember what he does in the anime super well, like outside of how his character concludes in that. But I'm definitely interested, especially with some of the stuff that got set up with him later on in this reading.
Okay. There's another little conflict with the fucking, I don't know how to describe him, weird monstrous guy, after Million Man will get to a town, and Vash is just kind of dead, like, he just can't do anything. Though they do comment on how, like, because I think, like, as he heals, one of the bullets comes out of his body, so he kind of, as a plant, he has some kind of regenerative capabilities, but Wolfwood comes to the rescue after, another guy helps out the blonde-haired guy, who isn't Vash. I was about to say, wait, no, hold on. Or light-haired, I guess.
That one bit where Vash, like things start going to hell, and Vash just, like, walks through, and he's, like, still bleeding out, but he's like, no, I'll help. I can help. And God. His face is just, like, just dried out and like, withered. I don't know if that's the word.
No, I think that sounds accurate.
This one's kind of a weird chapter because it's definitely more kind of, it feels more like comedic relief and like a tone balancer.
Palate cleanser.
Yeah. But it's, it sure happens.
Oh, right. So, this is what I was talking about earlier, where they find another plant and they go in, and Vash keeps getting flashes of July before it was destroyed through the puppets, and God, it all being a lie, his show basically, and like the way it kind of works into the fight is really neat. Where honestly, this might be my favorite fight in the series so far. just because like I like how like Vash on some level knows they're puppets, but then so he's not able to shoot them because they look like humans, and then he ends up shooting an actual person when he does. So God, like it's just it's such an just the way he uses like things that are shaped like humans to specifically fuck with Vash, and it was really interesting, and I liked it. And some of the designs, like I'm looking at this one fucking puppet centipede thing, and it's like Jesus Christ. And meanwhile, Wolfwood fights the 9 Lives, who's like literally 9 people in a suit. Which is funny when you think of it like that. But I was what did you how did you feel about these 2 fights?
I feel like this was like a fight where I really kind of struggled to follow the action in the art.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just had to take it on a more like not symbolic level, what's the word? Like I didn't feel like I could follow the action beat for beat, so I was kind of just like, yes, this is a fight happening, and kind of just I don't know. This one it didn't. I think there were things in it that hit for me for sure, but it was kind of like it wasn't one of the stronger conflicts for me, I think.
Okay. Fair enough. At least I didn't get much out of the Wolfwood versus the 9 Lives, but I like with the Emilio, the way Vash sort of like, he sealed off his memory, so he was hurting in his own ways, but he kind of hid from that, where like as Isabel the pup, I guess the implication is that he or hold on, there's like a flashback. They don't directly state it, but I don't fully remember it either, but oh yeah, it was a girl that Vash, was talking to him, and you should tell her your feelings, but then I guess they all died, and so he too, because of the July incident, but he forgot because he's literally like masquerading their forms, and but he's forgotten his own grief about the incident where Vash hasn't forgotten, and he lives the way he does because he doesn't want he won't forget it. Where Emilio did run away, he didn't have that resolve or determination. So even though he's weaponizing it against Vash, but he himself is hurt by the same thing, if that makes sense. So and the way the fight technically ends with Millie and Meryl just dropping in, they just do that.
Yeah. I do like how there's sort of a thread with Wolfwood and Millie in this reading where, like, and I mean it's there with Meryl too to some extent, like just the dropping in and like kind of making the save or coming into, like, it happens with Millie and Wolfwood where he's like, no, go back, like you shouldn't be involved in this, and then she shows up to kind of save the day, or buy him a moment of opportunity, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's neat. It's cool to see those characters hanging out doing stuff.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, in the first stretch, like, Vash only refers to them by name at the very end because they're so, like, there's that barrier kept up that they're not getting the full picture, and they're kind of just being off on the sidelines for the most part. So them kind of factoring in a little more in places, I think, is neat.
Yeah. And so we got to the part that I was thinking about earlier, because when they're on the hospital beds, and I just thought, so what do you take, did you think about, or maybe if you have anything related idea-wise from the anime, but just like the way Vash thanks Wolfwood for, he's like, he even says, because you spilled blood, you saved all these people's lives, right? So, which is just an interesting way where it's like, because obviously he tries to protect, he I don't know, it's just interesting to think about, because Vash not only refuses to kill, but he also protects other people's lives and stops them from killing. But then in this instance, you have him thanking Wolfwood for killing people because it saved more people. Which is it's like, it feels a little contradictory, but not necessarily in a bad way, I guess.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. I was wondering what you thought about it.
Well, that's one thing I do like about this reading is it really leans into the idea that like Vash is kind of a walking contradiction in certain ways, but like, you know, he's so steadfast to his like I will not kill mentality because it's like he just doesn't really know what else to do. And the way that gets explored more in like the later stretch of this reading, but just yeah, that's kind of a cool little moment where it's like he acknowledges that, you know, his actions might not always be the like most I don't know, efficient or like might not be the right course of action, but it's kind of all he knows how to do.
Yeah, no, because I don't, and it's just it also reminded me of Plunderer, which I mentioned last time because it also had similar an angle of not killing, but and there was instances of like characters sort of taking that burden for the others so that like they don't have to kill, so they kill instead. So it just reminded me of that. But yeah, like you said, it is like yeah, it's Vash being contradictory because obviously like he doesn't want people to die because he treasures what Rem valued and he doesn't want people to die. But yeah, though another angle I was thinking about it is because like I think they talk about how, or I think it's Wolfwood who mentions that like his determination is completely inhuman basically or something to that, or his resilience is more than a normal human, which is because like ultimately Vash is like because Vash and Knives are these they're both non-humans and they both have these conflicting ideals where Knives has no faith in humanity, which as we come to find out why, where Vash still wants to keep his keep that faith in humanity. So like I kind of because I think I don't know what I'm just wondering if like Wolfwood will sort of take on Vash's same ideals, like he'll be after trying to change Vash because for his Bennett because that's what he thinks is right. Because if he decides like no, I'm not going to kill anymore, and I'm gonna just a way to like have a human not come to change, come to accept Vash's ideals and be the better part of humanity that he sees. Because like they talk a lot about how it's like humanity is bad, things are only getting worse, right? So it was just a possible way for the story to go. I was thinking about just because like it would show that Vash is right and that because even though he's already killed, so is Vash, right? Like they can both overcome themselves basically and make that vow. But I don't know. I was just thinking about it. But yeah. And then we sort of see, I guess, what can happen when because like there's the remaining two of the 9, and a bunch of people go in to kill them because it's like they're out of vengeance, like, and they end up continuing the cycle of violence because the two of them get free and they hurt more people. So it's just like, yep, that's it's desire for violence causes more violence, right? So yeah, but yeah, this is gonna be a short reading. You're right, because we're already about halfway through. So
yeah, I feel like the first it's like it's not that I didn't find the reading interesting. It's just like especially in the first half of the reading, I'm just not exactly sure what to take from it. The second half of the reading, though, I feel like I guess how I would just sum this up compared to like what I'm familiar with in the anime is that like this I feel like does a lot more for Knives than the anime really has time to, just based on its structure. But I can't really talk about that until we get to the Knives stuff.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a kind of story where it makes sense, like the more of the ending you have in mind, because it's like, because then you know where the conflict is going, and you can look at everything in the context of the full conflict. Where instead it's or like right now we have bits and pieces, and we know at least with Vash's determination, and that like that's not going to change, but we don't know how it's ultimately going to resolve, especially with the middle point, like because it's like it's one of those instances where it's like it feels like it's going toward an ending, but it's not. It doesn't at all. It's like, oh fuck. So yeah. But anyway, they have the old the ship, the Ark that brought humanity here, and it's sending messages back to Earth so that they can get rescued. But of course, Knives doesn't. He's not cool with that. He wants humanity all gone. So he pulls out his knife. He transforms and yep.
Yeah, that one little couple bubbles of dialogue of like, you expect me to put up with even more of you?
Yep, just God. And then the chapter after that, we kind of get a bit of Mid-Valley's perspective, where it turns out he would have I guess like the way I saw it is that he's like Knives is kind of like an inescapable fate to him, where because he's like, maybe I can kill him, and then it's like, nope, everyone around him dies, but not him. So he's just like he works with Knives not because he wants to, but because he sees no other choice. Like if the death of humanity is inevitable, then why not ride out the wave a lot with possibly live a little longer, right? So and also just because Knives chose not to kill him, right? So
there is that line about like when Knives shows up to their concert or whatever, that's like, you killed the entire audience to reach a single target. I like your style. So I guess there being some level of like connection between them there. Although I think Mid-Valley is definitely a character I could appreciate more. I remember from the anime just really like, one thing I like about Trigun is it has a lot of like really like interesting and like disturbing powers, like between Knives being able to like manipulate the muscles in someone's body, and then like this guy can just play an instrument and kill people with sound. But like that's a very like surface level, just it's just cool.
Then we get back. We get that like that just I don't know. Knives just looking like bored, honestly, and just like this is, and then it cuts to Vash and Wolfwood dying in the desert. Just pure whiplash. And you get Meryl and Millie driving by, and Meryl's fucking pissed and enjoying water. Just get fucked, idiots. Then they take out a piece of shit who's abducting women. To be his wives. I forget if there was anything else to like tie it to, but there was the line from with Meryl where because she's given a gun, and it's like it's small but its power is sufficient, so it's about just having the force to do what you need to do instead of like, because she does use a smaller gun where Millie uses a giant gun. But I don't know, just an interesting line that I was thinking about but couldn't tie it to majorly to anything.
I think the stuff I also really liked, that sort of thread with Meryl in this reading, because I feel like it connects her to Vash really well. More in particular later when she talks about, because like the guy who gives her the gun says that like, if anything, the weak should have it because it's like an equalizer. But then she has kind of a moment later where she reflects on like her first time killing a person and how like, it's just something that stuck with her and like terrified her or something to that effect. And so I think in some way like that kind of connects her on some level to like Vash's struggle and like why he's like how I guess she could sort of connect with his insistence on not killing someone.
Right. Oh god, I scrolled forward a little bit, and you have the guns talking to each other, and then there's the chapter cliffhanger where Meryl gets blown away appears, and I just remember my reaction being like, oh, you fucking better not. She was just kidnapped, but she didn't get killed, so But yeah, Wolfwood and Vash get attacked by Zazie the Beast, which is not, I don't know, I don't try to remember what parts I got out of these because there's a few fights here, but yeah. Oh, that's right. It was Gauntlets being like a monster and protecting the girl. Now I remember, but because he fought that, or I guess the fights they weren't really directly one-on-ones necessarily, because there's a lot of moving parts. Oh yeah, I guess one thing I thought about was how Gauntlet, he talks about how he's just a bullet and he's no longer human, but I don't know, it kind of reminds me of the Naruto Toby, thing where it's like, oh, I'm just a tool, I'm just a weapon, but it's like, no, the reason you're like that is because of you have human reasons and grief motivating your actions, right? So trying to remember if I got anything out of the Wolfwood versus Mid Valley fight.
I wonder if there's something maybe I'm just kind of realizing how Vash and Knives are described, like they're plants. They're supposed to be like self-reliant, but like Knives is like that, but Vash is very much like tries to, like Vash doesn't want to be alone. Vash associates with humans, and like I don't know. I'm not.
No, that's a good point. Well, because I could, in a way, because I was just because what you were making think about with Vash is because like, if he doesn't want anyone to get hurt when he keeps attracting trouble, then the smartest thing for him to would just be to live in the desert alone, right? Like he's a plant, he's a source of life, so he could be self-sufficient. But instead, he chooses to be among people because he needs that connection. He wants to be around humanity. Where Knives, in a similar fashion, like he could work alone, but he still gathered allies around him who agree with his ideals, or at least to the point that they're willing to work for him, right? So, because he is, but I guess like I feel like that's less true at the end of the reading because where Knives is more gone off on his own. I feel. But I didn't think about how, Knives does have allies who, even though in theory he doesn't need them necessarily. So, yeah, hadn't thought about that. Oh, yeah, and they highlight Mid-Valley's insane talent to affect the air and every single noise in the area. I might be ahead of you. I'm towards the end of the fight.
Well, yeah, this one is like they kind of get into some scuffles, but then the fights like stop and like the antagonists reconvene and then the fights start up again.
Yeah.
I think this is just something like by nature of being a manga where I might just not have the best reading comprehension either. Just like not really sure how these like places connect, and like so when a character just kind of leaves a fight and goes to this other place, I'm just sort of like, sometimes I don't make the connection in my head of, like, what exactly was the chain of events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, because, I guess I didn't think about the geography of the place or the layouts and stuff, because, like, I've definitely read series where, like, I think Hunter x Hunter or, like, One Piece are good examples where it's, like, they fight in a big single area, like the Palace invasion of Hunter x Hunter, right, where it's, like, they go into it in a level of detail where you can reasonably. I mean, it's also so long, so it's not really quite an even comparison, right? Mm-hmm. Where in this case, like it's a big place with multiple fights going on, but they don't spend a huge amount of time there. All the things considered, even though it is a pretty long conflict. So but Knives captures Vash, and they get some readings off of him, and he triggers his gun again. Or no, never mind. That's a flashback. My bad. His gun is pulled out though, because he's mentally being brought back to then.
Oh yeah, I forget what exactly like, tripped Vash's memory that like he, I guess, had been kind of repressing some, part of it I think was also like when, I think it was when the July thing happened that. Like because he had been asked like, do you remember this time? But I don't remember what exactly it was that like awoke his memory of that. Here.
Yeah, I'm looking back through it, but.
But yeah, I mean, it is just he's been through all this hardship, and yeah, like him being kind of a walking contradiction in ways that it's like he's been through all this. Like suffering, but he still has to try and save people. So it's like no matter how many scars he has or how much pain he's in, he just like he is like compelled to keep going.
Mm-hmm. And I did misremember the order of information because with the Emilio fight, we do like they're more similar than I remembered when I was talking about it, basically because they had both been burying a part of their pasts, but with Emilio it was dragged out then. And he sort of broke down, and here it's being dragged out of Vash, so, you know, not so different in the end, I suppose, or at least at that, you know, comparing from this reading. So yeah, but yeah, Legato comes in, while Wolfwood and Mid-Valley, I guess they're talking about, you know, Vash and Knives potentially destroying each other and sort of, you know, what they're gonna do regarding that. But before that goes too far, Legato comes in and has Mid-Valley killed.
Yeah, I guess before then was also kind of that moment I mentioned with Millie where like Wolfwood couldn't see for a bit, and you know, even though Wolfwood knocked Millie out and was like, you know, someone take care of her, don't let her get involved in this, she still like found a way to, you know, be there and like help him get the advantage. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that would tie into Wolfwood's character necessarily, but it's neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, they end up in a big standoff, and it ends up getting triggered with Vash and Meryl, and a bunch of bullets go off.
Oh, there's also an interaction with is this a flashback? I think I'm still behind you.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm way ahead. So go ahead and catch up. Sorry.
I think this might have been the I think
you good?
What chapter are you on?
Oh, sorry. I'm on volume 5, chapter 5. Oh, that's chapter. Hold on.
Yeah, no, the
3-ish.
The way that this manga, I hate how the volumes reset the chapter count every time. Okay, I'm only.
I just realized you're on manga. You're using a different website, so you have them actually numbered properly.
Yeah, no, I'm on chapter 30. I think you were talking about this flashback. I just remember finding it interesting that. Oh yeah, this really is going into like the Vash being a walking contradiction. Just, you know, Knives throwing humanity's like brutality back in his face. Like, look at all those. But like, it also I think puts his character into a more like I don't know. Ironically, like a more human perspective, because like, you know, his motivations make a little more sense, even if it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. But like, you know, when he encountered Vash after being revived and just was like, you know, taken aback by all the scars on Vash's body, and just, you know, he points out like, how many times have you been betrayed? How many times have you been lied to? Been treated as something other than human? And just like, also highlighting like both how much he cares for Vash, or at least his idea of Vash, and like his idea of the two of them as like these, you know, superior like beings, like we don't have the cruelty of the human race, or something to that effect.
Well, yeah, because he does. If he, you know, he doesn't see he sees humans as lesser beings. So Vash is the only one in the, you know, that he could potentially have it as an equal. You know, because I guess the other plants aren't really sapient in the same, or at least, you know, they don't. He's willing to drain them of their life, at least. So he doesn't seem to care about that. He only cares about Vash, really.
Mm.
So having Vash, you know, in line with him means he wouldn't be alone anymore. But Vash refuses him because Vash does see the humans as beings. So yeah.
But it also, yeah, it highlights just, okay, maybe that wasn't a flashback. But it highlights how just like everything that Vash has to struggle against. Like, yes, he has been betrayed, and, you know, all of those things. Like, we've seen him cast out of towns because, oh, you're a humanoid typhoon, you know, you're a walking disaster, you're not human. And so like, yeah, and like how much he has to kind of maybe even fight against his emotions to some extent to not succumb to that cruelty because of like his past with Rem, and just really highlighting like how much of a just struggle daily existence is for Vash. in this like post-apocalyptic kind of world.
For sure, yeah. I'm still a little ahead of you, but I like the line where it's like, Vash's determination is larger than the regret that he carries. Good line.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the stuff with kind of the what's it called? Is it like a standoff where like everyone's got a gun pointed at each other? And just the way that Legato's powers kind of factor into it, where like Mid-Valley tries to go after him, but then he manipulates the other guy to shoot him, and then I think later he manipulates Mid-Valley's corpse to like set something else up, and it's just like...
Yeah, no, he's got an interesting ability, for sure.
Yeah, and then there's Meryl being the one to kind of set the standoff in motion.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Yeah, and like Vash is kind of being overtaken by his power, it seems, but he's still able to protect Meryl from within that.
Yeah, and then after that we get his sort of mental escape where he's just overcoming his not still bearing his regret, but he's definitely like he just goes into his mind and thinking about his memories that he was stealing away, and ultimately regretting it, but still bearing that regret, and just like the threat of like, oh, those lives that extinguished, they were so kind, but by recognizing what he's done basically and not running and not forgetting it, he does he's able to pull his powers back in check. Then we get Elendria, the Crimson Nail, the strongest of the gung-ho guns, gender character. Time to talk for 20. No, I don't. Maybe next time we'll have something to say about it, but I feel like there wasn't there wasn't much with her, so him, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't really have any opinions on this character so far.
But yeah, I guess the conflict's done for now. With because Elendria basically puts a stop to it, and so they're able to Knives of course explains his goal to make Vash suffer, and they end up no, that's not Knives, that's Gauntlet, where it's like he because he was made to suffer for Vash, so he's like, you know what, yeah, you can live, I'll let you suffer, and he before he dies. So but yeah, Vash and Wolfwood, Vash sets up some graves and prays, while Wolfwood comments on how like him not dealing with the enemies isn't going to solve anything, but they just that's sort of where they end off, and the conflict's over for now. Obviously the reading's not over, but yeah, while Vash is seeing a gunsmith, some more the yin yang guys come through.
Oh yeah, there's that the line with Meryl that I mentioned earlier, where it kind of calls back to the guy, giving her the gun, and like women most of all should make use of them because it'll like level the playing field. And then Meryl reflects on like, yeah, the power I gained was death at my fingertips. It was nothing but terror. And just like, yeah, I feel I don't know if I'm doing a great job at like why I feel like that connects to Vash, but I don't know. I think she's a good character.
Yeah, I can't think of any connections to Vash either right now, so
I do also, like, on a very surface level, appreciate the little interaction with the Murdoch, the like sheriff guy, that like Vash is shooting the target, and he's like, are you that, like, you're that poor of a shot that you just missed? And then, he's like, dick measuring contest. He's like, yeah, look at me, I can obliterate this thing. And then later he's like, oh wait, he's actually very accurate and does that on purpose.
Right. But yeah, then we get a little Wolfwood flashback where he was going to try and kill Knives, but I think this is the first mention of the Eye of Michael, maybe, and because Knives just tells him to keep doing as he was doing.
One thing I did also mention in that, or I did notice in that last chapter, I guess like Meryl coming from her own personal experiences and of like taking a life that she realizes that like, oh, when Vash got his memories back, like, is he still going to be able to pull the trigger? Because she's like substituting her own pain and experience in there. But I mean, obviously Vash continues on.
Yes. And then after that flashback, you have Wolfwood considering killing Vash to just try and end half of the conflict. But then right after that, he ends up protecting Vash from the other attackers that come in, and they do have their mutual desire to keep people safe. And the different, I like the his different contrast when it's like him looking at Vash's back versus when he turns his back and like they're fighting side by side or back to back rather. Yeah. Oh, the introduction of Double Fang and Trip of Death, where it's like, oh shit, there they are, these guys, and they bust through a fucking fortress and whatever. And it turns out, no, they weren't Double Fang and Trip of Death. It was these other guys who just completely destroyed them easily.
Yeah.
Oh, and Trip of Death has a big old cross gun on his back like Wolfwood. I did not go back to the original series to see how many of the designs of the guns, how were they all the same? Were they all the characters that we recognized, or did some of them change? Because obviously, I think two comparable examples are like the first silhouettes of the Seven Warlords of the Sea in One Piece, where it's like these guys don't look like anything of the Seven Warlords of the Sea, and then the Akatsuki in Naruto before the time skip, where it's like we kind of see them and it's like, well, some of these guys kind of look like characters we come to know. A lot of these guys don't. So just, normal. But I did not go back to double check with Trigun.
Well, the spread I'm seeing only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters if you include Wolfwood.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you had it on hand? Nice.
Yeah, no, I was going to pull it up and then I'm like, wait, I think I took that. And it's like, Mid-Valley, the Puppet Master's there, the Samurai's there, Zazie the Beast is there, the Gauntlet.
Oh, okay, so they do got a bunch of them. Nice. But yeah, Knives goes into the ship and finds another plant, which he drains the life of.
Oh, yeah, I didn't properly connect that this is the guy who's in the flashback until just now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Because he did mention, like, oh, that kid, yeah. Because I was thinking about that. I was like, wait, no, we're not in the flashback yet.
No, but this is the other guy who talked to Rem and was like, yeah, we can let them live.
Yes. Yep. And then they comment on the hair darkening before we go back to Vash. And he's in a church, but, he can't, no one can forgive him, and he can't forgive himself for his sins. So, just a cross he has to bear, so to speak, even though it's Wolfwood bearing the cross. Hold on. I guess you could say that by killing people for Vash, he is bearing Vash's cross in a way. So, yeah, then we get another sort of Vash bounce back conflict, but this one, it ends with them throwing rocks at him, and he's got blood on the side of his face, and he's like, how am I supposed, like, should I, like, because he's smiling, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to look? I don't even know anymore. And it's like,
yeah, it's like he even, like, going to the church and, like, talking about, like, like, for, like, there's even a little visual comparing him, or in dialogue, too, to, like, how, like, Jesus was crucified and like stuff about bearing the sins, and Vash is just like, there can't be any release from that. Like, I can't forgive myself.
Yeah, if there's any, because I'm about to get into the flashback, so if there's anything else you want to say before we get there that I might maybe missed.
I mean, I think you hit on the other, like, noteworthy line of just, Well, yeah, and also like the fact that he uses his power to, protect himself, and that gets him like ostracized, like you said, with people throwing the rocks, and that he just is like, he smiles because he doesn't know what else to do. It's just a very like, especially after hearing what Knives, basically called him out for, that like, how many times have you been betrayed or humiliated or cast out?
Yeah. But anyway, then we get the flashback where Rem is raising Vash and Knives. They're learning about, humanity, and some people come out of the pods due to because there was an accident, so the systems automatically woke up the crew, but they're not supposed to know about Vash and Knives. But they do find out, and the guy they care about Rem, and they're capable of love, so it's like you're fine, they can exist. Then they
There's also
go on. Yes.
Well, there was also a line from Rem where I forget if it was Vash or Knives, just said like, you seem kind of awkward, and she's like, well, I'm not really sure what expression I should have on my face, and just connecting that with Vash, where it's like, I don't really know what else to do, so I guess I'll smile and try and like paint a positive color on the world.
You're right. I didn't think about that, actually. Fuck. But yeah, they find out about Tesla, who is their big sister, who was basically created and then tortured and experimented on by humanity, which, which definitely explains Knives' whole motivation a bit more, where it's like, oh yeah, humanity can do something so cruel, then, they shouldn't be allowed to exist.
Yeah, kind of like that pursuit of knowledge, but in the same way that like humans will like scientists have performed like experiments on animals and stuff, and it's like, well, that's still life, and it's still like, not really like here, obviously, for Vash and Knives, it's like there is no consideration really made to their like personhood, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Well, I was gonna just realize, what's his name? Sensui. From Yu Yu Hakusho. I didn't think about it while reading, but I just remembered their, similar character who dislikes humanity, but after seeing something like horrible and that they can't get over, basically, just here's humanity at its worst, so to speak. But I also like how we learned a bit more about Rem, because she was involved in that experiment. Like she, like Vash, has this sin that she committed, and she's trying to live beyond. Like she talks about her dream, where she just envisions herself on the train and with a ticket to that she can go anywhere, and that's sort of like her blank check for the future that she was talking about in the original. Like she has to believe that, because otherwise like she'd struggle to go on. And of course like instilling that within Vash, so that he has something, a way to live when he ends up committing something that he can't forgive himself for, basically. So yeah. And of course Knives, he seems to faint and forget everything, but no, he remembered, and then he sort of like almost like revels in it, like he just continues rewatching the experiments until it basically driving it in for him, and then he ends up fucking up with the ship and kickstarting this conflict.
Yeah, I also like the interaction with Rem and Vash, where Vash basically tries to kill her, and then it's only in that moment that he realizes that, like, that's not, because, like, Rem is still trying to, like, be a better person and try to, like, look out for them and try to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again. And, like, just because Vash has all this, like, hatred for what happened, like, killing her isn't the answer. It's just a very, like, effective moment for, like, yeah, okay, this is the foundation of Vash's ideals, and, like, why he, like, why Rem's ideals are so important to him, and why he just does what he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was gonna say something.
Well, actually, I think he tries to kill himself first, but Rem
Oh, right.
stops him, and then he just, yeah.
Right. Anyway, do you have any more to say on the flashback, or shall we move on to the final part of the reading?
Well, yeah, I guess I'm also just seeing that page where Vash, mentions, like, after he stabs Rem that, like, he feels relief and, like, I won't shed a single tear for her, and then very immediately, like, seeing the blood on his hands. And so, like, maybe that's also part of it, that, like, he does have that part, those instincts and those emotions in him somewhere, and, like, he's afraid of, like, becoming that person, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I really like this flashback. It's definitely my favorite part of the reading so far.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Oh, and there's also another line here, like, after talking about, like, the blank ticket to the future, where, like, Rem is crying and just, like, don't say that you'll die. And Vash says, I never would have known that when you cry, you look just like you're laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like Vash always having a smile on his face. Like, maybe that sort of reflected that, he has a smile on his face, but internally he's just always just in pain. Right.
Yeah, I did think about that, actually. Yeah, good flashback. I definitely think I agree in that it's my favorite part of the reading. Yeah, so far. Yeah. I don't know, I said so far. I'm done with the reading.
Like I said earlier, this flashback does a lot for Knives' character, and just, he's not just the big threatening villain who, like, at least now we know what his motivations are. And I like some of the backstory with Rem and Knives is in the anime, but I definitely don't, like, this stuff is like 30 plus chapters, like, after the last Trigun Maximum material gets brought into the anime. So this would have come out, like, years later after it was over. But I will still be curious to go back and watch the anime and see, like, how much this sort of flashback still works to, like, contextualize the story that the anime tells.
Yeah, no, because, yeah, it's very possible that, like, obviously they would have been in contact. They could have been in contact with the author. I know generally, like, there's also the case where, they just sort of do their thing and they, but I do wonder, how much material they were given by the author, because that does happen sometimes. So yeah. But anyway, following that, Knives, he's prepared to start his Age of Chaos.
I like the little chapter where Vash just kind of goes to a bar and is just like, he kind of rescues these people from the townsfolk, and then they're drinking and he's just kind of, talking about his past and stuff. And I forget exactly what the send-off is, but where is it?
Well, the guy's talking about, just, forgetting and distancing yourself, letting everybody forget about you. But, Vash just goes back out into the night and he's like, oh, you weren't really listening to me, were you? Because Vash does need that human connection. Like I was kind of talking about earlier, I didn't think about how it tied to this discussion. Yeah. And of course he wants to protect people. We get the spread of Knives standing on the tower with his wings and his big old knife. It's basically a sword at this point. Let's be real. But as he's cutting off the communications, it's just, oh boy. But yeah, Wolfwood's like in a fucking 3-on-1 fight with Elandia, and then Fang and Death. I forget the full
Trip of Death.
Yes, thank you. And so I don't think it ends conclusively, but no, they just leave, and because I'm pretty sure Knives sort of steals the show, so to speak. But yeah, Vash has his face off with knives.
Yeah, it's interesting that it seems like the direction the conflict, at least it was going. I'm not sure if it'll still be the final resolution that, like, these two characters kind of have to, like, one way or another, like, assimilate into each other. And, like, because it seemed like Knives was trying to take over Vash and, like, use his strength. But, Legato runs in to break it up because Vash was actually the more powerful one.
Right, because I was even just slipped by, and Knives noted how, like, Vash is closer to death because he has more, the black hairs represent, blackness of death, and so, you're close. So he thought he'd overpower him, but nope, that's not how it worked out. Also, I did forget, because there was a line the Eye of Michael had, where they said, like, life is harder than death sometimes, where that definitely kind of not in the way that I was bringing up last time with Wolfwood and, like, the idea of, like, death to get rid of suffering, basically, but, that idea, seems to have come up where it's, like, that's part of why they kill, even though Wolfwood likely doesn't agree with that, as he's facing them, so, yeah. But yeah, I'm at the part where, Knives brings up the arc, if you have anything to say before we get there, because I just realized I went through pretty quick.
Wait, is that after the part where they, like, Knives tries to take over Vash?
Thought so. Yeah, no, because, like, yeah, I think I'm pretty, yeah, because they don't, maybe I'm wrong.
Like, is it in Volume 8?
I just got to Volume 8, so maybe you went ahead of me.
Okay.
The arc appears at the end of Volume 7.
The arc?
It would be chapter 45.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, because he says release the arc, and then it comes out, and then at the start of, you can also see it very early into chapter 46. So yeah. The suffering was actually in the line of the suffering was actually in volume 8. Or life is harder than death. My bad. But yeah, Knives tries to argue that Vash has forgotten Tesla, but Vash has not forgotten. He just hasn't decided to process the pain the same way. But Knives doesn't care. He's just gonna go on his crusade of violence and death and start his age of chaos.
Yeah, like Knives, I like the little interaction with Vash where, Knives' whole motivation is that, like, humans are relying on the plants and, like, draining them of their power and their life. But Vash is, like, takes the responsibility on both of them that, like, they wouldn't have had to, exist in these shitty conditions and, exploiting the plants if Knives hadn't basically stranded them, and kind of, like, threw off whatever their, initial plans were for, like, going to another planet.
Yeah. Or calling for help from Earth, right? And,
yeah, so Vash kind of has this attitude of, like, if we remove the conditions that lead people to do those things, then they won't do those things.
Right. Which, yes, I guess it's, yeah. I feel like this is a stopping point, so, because, or did you have anything more to say before we ended off with the Knives,
I see that there's a line, it just reminded me of how at one point this was kind of like a Western aesthetic that right before Knives takes out all the dudes, or maybe it's the Eye of Michael who does it, but there's like a sheriff guy who's like, some like to think this world is still lawless, but we'll teach them that the frontier days are over, which is just kind of like, like the start of the manga is very much like, oh, it's a deserted, like, wasteland. So it's just kind of a real sign, I think, that, like, that whole Western aesthetic is long gone by this point.
Yeah. And you didn't point, because they it was bad before, but they make a point of showing how just, like, Knives made it even worse and complete breakdown of order. The world drying up, becoming quiet, almost like humanity is basically almost gone. So very curious as to see how that'll affect things or be presented going forward. So yeah.
Oh yeah, there's also just in general, it's a good conversation between Vash and Knives at the end where just in terms of like Vash saying, like, if we just remove the circumstances that cause humans to like exploit the plants, then it won't happen. And Knives is like, oh, well, did you forget about Tesla? Like, there was no reason for them to like do what they did to Tesla. And then he's just like angry, like, I have not forgotten. It's like, I live with that pain every single day, motherfucker.
Yep, where Knives is trying to alleviate it by killing fucking everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But, yep.
And like, only the victims of violence can describe its essence.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Oh yeah, and then Tesla's death. Do you really want to add it to your endless chain of hate and strife?
Oh boy, yep.
And that the true battle is like of the heart, not against other people. I think something to that effect.
Yeah, no, because Knives is trying to alleviate his pain by just killing everyone, where Vash is burying it. So yeah, neat conflict. I'm very curious to see how it resolves. So next time we will be finished. Or did you have any final thoughts before I wrap it up? Sorry, I just jumped right into it.
No, because the last chapter of this reading is kind of just everything going to hell. There's not much in the way of like dialogue.
Yeah.
Oh well, I guess that is just like, breakdown of order, and like, the world is really like post-apocalyptic now, because even the planet they're on is like people dying of like drought and dehydration and shit.
It's gonna be neat seeing how it all wraps up.
Yeah, I really have no idea where this is gonna go at this point. Because it's definitely beyond what I recognize as Trigun.
That's fair. That's fair. Because like what, there were like 4 chapters adapted into the anime from this reading out of 47. So, right. And you said they go in different directions with like Wolfwood's character, for instance. To the point, they're probably just 2 different takes on the same core idea in a sense, since so much of the anime was original in the first place. But yeah, definitely curious about watching Trigun one day still, and I don't imagine Maximum Part 2 is gonna the second half is gonna affect that at all. But I'm curious to see how the conflict wraps up. We'll be reading chapters 48 through 97.
Oh right, I guess one other thing I thought is just interesting reading this is that like I'm curious what happens with Legato in the next reading, because like I said in the anime, it feels like Legato had more of a presence than Knives, just by nature of how, like, what material was out at the time and the way the anime is structured. So, I'm just curious to see what else changes.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, but we'll leave it for next time. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you then.